You're listening to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. This is your host, Kiyan Sobhani, and we are recording this about 5 minutes after the 1-1 draw at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea, Barca, Messi with a late-ish equalizer after a gift from Christensen, and Barca survive. And the margin of error is small because Diego was almost going to be crying for this one, but now he gets to be something to happen about, and apparently he has like 2 hours worth of notes, so I hope you're ready. Diego, my co-host, obviously on the line. Diego, how are you doing?
Very good, Kiyan. Very good. Listen, yes, you're right. I do have about 2 hours of notes. As well, I should probably describe the scene right now because I am in charge of my baby boy. It's a boys' week. My wife is away on business, and I'm taking care of our kid alone, so I live in a very small flat where we can't make a lot of noise, yet at the same time I was sitting at the edge of my seat for a good, 90 minutes and just biting my knuckles, screaming as softly as I could. And now I'm standing outside on the little terraza, little balcony on my flat, and I need to just let it out. I need to vent, man. I need to talk to somebody. So I was like, Kiyan, let's do this. Let's do Churros y Tácticas right now, because there's no better time to vent and talk about this electric match that we just witnessed on the Champions League, where Barca remains unbeaten and fully healthy and alive in this competition, as well as two others. So,
walk me through it. So, this is how, to me, it looked in a nutshell. Conte went into this game without a 9, and they kind of defended like in a 4-5-1 without the ball, which kind of morphed in and out, but roughly that's what it was. And Barca looked at it and said, okay, well, we're going to just eliminate counter-attacking danger from Hazard and Willian by just holding the ball for 300 minutes and having 99% possession and counter-pressing strategically and getting back in transition when needed. And that's what. And I was, when I was watching it, I was like, if Chelsea don't score the first goal in this game, this is going to be a really boring 2 legs. Which, by the way, I'm not sure. By the way, why? But I have so many Barca fans following now. So
I wonder why, Kiyan.
Well, it's obviously because of this, but I don't know. It's now I have to be like careful.
Don't
not
be politically
to
correct. No,
yeah,
that's why you have me on the pod. Yeah. Me that's defending the culés. Say whatever you want. I hope you don't feel frenado, like as if you need to pump the brakes on your opinions on this pod. Well, Kiyan, this is your pod. This is your pod. A little bit you and I pod now. This is, I hope, the one place that we can always go to as a refuge, wherever our careers take us, and vent our personal opinions in the most fair and honest way, because whatever you're going to say, I know is honest, the same way I have my opinions on Madrid. It's always honest.
I promise you I will never not be honest and never be afraid to voice my opinion.
So what do you want to say? What do you want to kick our balls a little bit?
No, it was just an observation, and I did post that picture of Alba and
that it was boring.
It wasn't it not?
Okay.
From a neutral point of
me.
view. So here's what I'll say.
All right.
It was boring for a neutral. If a game is boring for a neutral, regardless of how boring it is in reality, for the team and the fan invested in the game, it's never boring. So if Real Madrid goes to a really boring 0-0 game or 2-2 or whatever, and I read the post-game comments and everyone is complaining because it's boring, for 1 second I do not feel that way, and I'm on the edge of my seat because I'm really emotionally invested in it. So I understand that it's not boring for you or Chelsea fans.
Right.
So I was praying that Chelsea score first, for that reason in particular. I will say this: I thought, as smart as it was for Barca to kind of try to snuff out the counterattacks the way they did by holding the ball, Willian and Hazard, and in particular Willian, were always going to do their thing. And Willian was so important in this game to create space and kind of be a visionary in a game where there wasn't much space and wasn't much counterattacking opportunities. I thought he was fantastic.
Too many for my liking. Way too many for my liking, but yeah, go on.
Well, I mean...
Come on. He had a lot of fucking breakaways. There's too many mistakes on our part at some point.
Well,
yeah,
they didn't have many, but the ones that they had were definitely enough to rustle the feathers.
Dangerous.
Yeah, they were dangerous. Yeah. And Barcelona really had nothing offensively.
No. Well, we had the ball.
You had the
ball.
Right, but that for you...
you felt at any moment, you felt like something could happen. There were moments where Spurs where something could happen. You know,
of course,
go on.
When you have Messi on the pitch, anything can happen at any time.
Always.
But
and Suarez was ambitious.
For you holding
had a penalty
the ball,
that wasn't called.
Yeah, for you holding the ball, that was also your way of defending, not necessarily attacking. So it's like you go down the list. Messi had one key pass. He was dispossessed 6 times. Overall, I think Chelsea dealt really well with this.
Super well.
Yeah,
incredibly well. Absolutely well. Look, for me, it was like both teams were playing their brand of football. You know, it's. You're right when you were saying that it was, entre comillas, like in quotation marks, boring, because I've seen this match before throughout generations. Like, I felt like we were going through the Van Gaal back in the late '90s generation when we beat. We lost to Chelsea, and then we beat Chelsea, which Van Gaal was the manager at Barca, and I think the ball-headed Italian guy, what was his name? The player coach at Chelsea was the manager there. Anyway, it was, then afterwards it was the Rijkaard Mourinho era. Then we saw it with Pep and hitting, obviously. Like, I mean, Barca, Chelsea, or Chelsea, Barca is a Champions Classic at this point. That's what I'm trying to say. And they were both playing their brand of football. Barca, very, comfortable with possession, slowly passing the ball. Chelsea, on the other hand, comfy sitting back and, playing great counter-pressing football. Look, Willian had 2 cracking shots on goal. Both those times, I think I was getting a heart attack without any doubt about it. And both teams are a quality side. Hazard is a little messy, and which, by the way, I want to say as well, if Madrid wants to snatch this guy up, it will be devastating news for Barca. He's heavily linked with Madrid for a long time, and he's a quality player. And in the second half, after those 2 shots on the post by Willian, as soon as he touched that ball in the second half, I just knew it was going to be a goal instantly. I couldn't understand why, of all people, Willian had to be left alone. And
I saw like even a couple journalists mention that, like, how to me he was closed down well enough, like during the
what? No, not at all.
Maybe not when he received the pass, but the shot. It was not an easy
it was
shot
an incredible
to get
shot.
off.
It was an incredible shot. Oh, for sure. It was an incredible shot. But when he received that ball, why of all people was that guy left alone when he had 2 fucking belters, incredible shots on goal in the first half, hitting the post twice? That was gut wrenching, I have to say, and I wasn't quite sure if we were going to get out of it. I was look. I'm debating whether I should say this or not, but I was comfortable with a 1-0 in the 72nd minute. Like that last 15 minutes, I was kind of thinking if it will finish 1-0, I'll take it at this point. Chelsea's defense was just too solid. But then it was in that, I don't forget what minute, but it must have been those last 15 minutes where, Barca scored. And it almost felt to me like the right way to score. As in, Luis Suarez had a penalty, okay? We can all say at this point, and you as well, that was a penalty not called, which I was almost happy about, because when I first saw it, I was thinking, like, shit, you're diving, Luis Suarez. So I kind of could understand why the referee didn't call it, especially with all the propaganda that's been going on recently. You've seen it as well, Kiyan, in Marca, in Goal.com, everywhere, where people are trying to, bring back memories from 9 years ago when, what's his name, the Norwegian ref, Olsen or whatever it is, Olsen, didn't do those calls, etc. Okay, we got it. You guys did your propaganda. Yes, there were bad calls that game. For me, I'll always remember it as the Iniestathon, but fine. You did your thing. Suarez went down. It was a penalty. But, Barca didn't give up. We recuperated the ball because of a huge big mistake from, what's his name, Christensen, right? Mm-hmm. And we lo aprovechamos. Like, we took advantage of that the best way possible. Iniesta taking control. Could have had the pass to Suarez, passed it to the man Messi that was coming. We've seen that play 1,000 times. Messi slots it in the back of the goal. 1-1, it finished. And, I'm happy as punch, man. I'm happy as bees. I'm happy as can be because the rematch is the 14th of March, and we can sit here and talk about what do we need. Are we expecting more from this team? Barca could have been losing more. Yes, and yes, and yes. That's all true. However, here we are today with Barca or Chelsea-Barca just having happened. Barca remains unbeaten except for losing against Espanyol in the Copa del Rey, and we are with full chances to go through to the next phase in the Champions League. That is the truth today. Barca knows how to suffer, even when the odds are against us, and that's the reality of today. I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know if we have everything it needs, but on this day, all culés need to be happy, as critical as we can be as well. But that's my take.
You're clearly very pumped about this. You're very emotional. I'll be honest. So this is pretty well immediately after the game. So I saw one replay of the Suarez incident. Was it not outside the box?
Mm-hmm. No, I think I saw it repeatedly, and it was clearly inside. Even the commentators were saying that it was a penalty inside the box. Okay.
I saw a foul. I saw it start beyond the box. I wasn't sure if when his heel was clipped, he was inside or outside, but I haven't seen enough replays.
It doesn't matter. The point is that we didn't give up. I also thought, and I'm admitting this, I thought that he was diving, and I was praying that a penalty wasn't going to get called. Because I said, no, I don't want to have this go our way this way, especially against Chelsea, especially with the history behind Chelsea Barça's. Now, having seen in a replay, a penalty could have been called. It didn't. Great. We continued on and scored a goal. Yeah. I think the 1-1 is a fair result on the night, and we'll see you the 14th of March in the Camp Nou, where anything can happen, man. 1-1.
I mean, I guess it's fair. I think Chelsea is kind of the expected goals for both these teams were very low. So Chelsea 0.46, 0.59 for Barca. Like, it could have easily ended 0-0, and it probably would have ended 1-0 for Chelsea if Christensen doesn't make that mistake. And even though he made the mistake, you look at the play and you're like, okay, well, it's a really bad pass, obviously, but it just seems
like could have gotten it. No?
That's the thing. There was a lot of time it seemed to recover and fix it and remedy it and get to the ball a bit faster, or I'm not sure who would try to...
I think it's Cesc. I think he just kind of looks at it and where I'm like, oh, okay,
and then
great.
And then you have Moses on the far side who it just expects someone to get the ball, so he stays out wide. He doesn't cut in to try to close Iniesta. And then you have old man Iniesta. You're like, okay, well, he's not getting to that because you're looking at this from an overhead
Big
view.
mistake.
There's no way that Barca gets in on this. And
no,
Iniesta gets it. I think one of the things that low key will it doesn't I wouldn't say it's unnoticed, but just a moment where Iniesta just slows down time and knows Messi's there and cuts it back easily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that play. That's what I was trying to say. We've seen that play so many times, whether it's Jordi Alba, whether it's Messi, whether it's, Xavi on the end of that. Like, that play where we get the ball at the edge of the box and Messi's cutting in. How many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
So many times. And Messi did it, man. His first goal against Chelsea in 9 matches.
Yeah.
There it is. Otro gafe. Bam! Another maldición. ¿Cómo se dice? Another superstition or
well, yeah. Those things aren't really real anyway.
Well, but the press likes to go with those things.
Yeah,
I get it. It has been. He never scored against Chelsea, so he did it in Stamford Bridge.
So it'll be interesting to see how Conte approaches the second leg, because
he looked like he didn't get any sleep whatsoever.
He always looks like that.
Yeah, but he was like, I haven't been sleeping for days. And I don't know if you saw the press conference before, like the post-match, but or pre-match, but that was hilarious. He's like, I've been sleeping for days thinking about this. I looked at him at the field, and I was like, damn, let's see if we can put you to bed already.
They look. I mean, for what it's worth, I'm not sure how much they even have to necessarily deviate from their approach this game to the next game, because
they played great.
On one hand, you can say, okay, now we need a goal. On the other hand, even if you have possession for 20% in the Camp Nou and you don't have that many clear-cut countering opportunities, you're going to have them.
Yeah,
and all it takes is to capitalize on one.
Yep.
And they're capable.
That's it.
Right?
They totally are. They totally are.
And if they get one and then momentum swings and all that, it's hard for me to see it happening, but it's not inconceivable the way they play.
It's not inconceivable. Absolutely. The odds right now, I don't know what, I've maybe put them at 60-40, 55-45, something like that. It's Chelsea are fantastic. I cannot. That high. They are a quality side, dude. I cannot. For the life of me, fathom or understand why they are fourth in the Premiership, or the Premier League. It's their quality side, and I've never really seen them like this. I have to confess, when a lot of people were telling me about Conte and Hazard, obviously Willian, etc. They are quality star players.
This is I wanted to ask you about a couple things. But also just an observation from me. Mm-hmm. So I did mention to you before that earlier this season that I thought Messi is obviously still crazy great, but he has also dropped off a bit from previous years, and he loses the ball a bit more. He misplaces more passes, and we have stats to back it up. And today he was dispossessed. I said that he passes more. Yeah. He's dispossessed. Oh, there was that side, and then he was dispossessed 6 times today. And I stirred the pot a bit with a tweet about Xavi over the weekend. I don't know if you had a chance. You saw it, right?
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
One thing. So I think this Xavi cat is smarter than Madridistas take him for.
Oh.
I also think.
I like where you're going.
I also think he's not as smart as some Kool-Aids think he is. I think sometimes our hate for him clouds how we think he'd be at his job if he was a coach. Some of his interviews are actually really interesting, even if you don't agree with them, because he really has a knack for the details of the game. And it's not just about his trait as a player, but also one of the interviews he had with El País a couple months ago was really interesting when he spoke about tactics. Anyway, that's not the point. One thing he said that I really disagree with, and there's a lot of things he says that I do disagree with, but one thing that he said recently was that Real Madrid can win when they play bad, and Barcelona don't know how to do that. And I think there are plenty of examples that Barcelona win regardless of how they play. Yeah. Today was one of them, and the reason is Messi. And this is the margin of error against Barcelona. When their expected goals, you hold them to half an expected goal, and you play that well and you contain them that well, and then you make one mistake and that's it.
Yeah.
This is the margin of error in the Messi era, essentially.
Well, listen, I know everything, all the things that you're referring to, and I like how you kind of, tippy-toe in water and hot water. Kind of try not to tread knee deep into what Xavi was saying and all the ones you're referring to. Yeah, it's but Deco said it as well, and I kind of got annoyed when he said it. He said it today or yesterday. He was saying that Barca makes the teams that he plays for much better. And I say it in a way that's very obvious. He said it a little more astute and a little more taking a jab. At least that's how I interpreted a jab at other, the players, the role players, if you want to call them that, the players surrounding Messi, and it's certainly true that it's a very easy thing to say, the Messi dependencia, how badly Barca rely on Messi, and we certainly do. I'm eternally grateful for having the greatest football player ever on my squad and play for such a long time. I mean, that's why I rate him so much higher than Maradona, is because the endurance, man, the longevity here. Hello, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's not even a contest at this point. I'm sorry. I understand. I'm a romantic. I love to dwell and reminisce on the past, and darle vueltas a la tortilla, like flip the Spanish omelet, as it translates bad. But I mean, look, Messi's the greatest player of all time. Of course, we depend on him. However, having said that, he is surrounded by fantastic players, and we don't know. There's been plenty of times where Messi was out injured for an extended period, where Barca did just absolutely fine. We continued to, we remain to. Yeah, I know.
Last year,
like,
yes. Last year, if it happens,
Neymar was there.
Yes, but if it happens this
6-1
year,
against PSG was not because of Messi. It was because of Neymar.
Correct.
Neymar was the fucking guy.
Correct, but if it happens this year,
we've
you
always
guys
had great
can't
players,
do it.
man.
If it happens
maybe.
this year, no, not a
but
chance.
why are we? But listen, why are we even discussing hypotheticals, Kiyan? Come on, man.
I don't know. You
we
brought
could do
it
that
up,
all
not
day.
me. You're the one who brought it up, not me.
I didn't bring it up.
Well, someone did. It wasn't me.
You brought it up. You were talking about Xavi. You were talking about Xavi.
No, my point is
saying what he said, and I brought. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. My example. Sorry, my example to finish what I was trying to say. Thank you. Yeah, my example was Deco, but I think it's unfair because we're talking about Messi, man. We're talking about Messi. My point is that again, Barca or Messi surrounded by quality players his entire career, especially at Barca, and Barca's always been in the running for titles, regardless. Whether some years we look bad. We've never looked as bad as Madrid is today. We've never been in fourth in all the time that Ronaldo and Messi have been facing each other. So, we've always been there in the running. Last year, we lost the La Liga by 3 points. We could have won that. And so, look, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Did I answer your...
I can't tell if we're disagreeing or agreeing. I can't tell. This conversation's all over the place.
No, I know, but I think what you're saying is that and that's what you're kind of hinting towards or leaning towards, is that Barca wouldn't be as good as we are if it wasn't for Messi.
Well, of course,
and that's an obvious point. That's an obvious point. No, that's an obvious point, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've always been there in the running, even when we didn't have him for an extended period. So I don't think it's all down to Messi, but it's just like if you take away the greatest player of all time, of course, you can make a crazy argument.
My overarching point wasn't that Messi dependency. I didn't want to get into that. My point was just that the margin of error against Barca in the Messi era is such as we saw today. You play well, you continue well, you do everything you need to do correctly, and then you make a mistake, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That was the point, and also the point was that Xavi is wrong when he says Real Madrid are the only team that, not the only, but Real Madrid can win when they play badly, but Barca cannot.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. I disagree with him. Absolutely, Xavi, come on, no doubt about it. But I know you're fearing to death the day that Xavi becomes our manager, obviously, or mister.
I don't know if fear is the right word. I think I'd be way more fearful if Iniesta was the manager, no question. I don't know if
you need a mix.
I don't know if fear is the right word for Xavi. I think he would bring almost this he would probably be like the Mourinho.
I think he'd be more like if this is gonna sound crazy, but if Guardiola and Luis Enrique had a baby, it would be Iniesta. Because he has kind of the hot-headedness of Xavi. Yeah. The baby will be Xavi. Because he has the hot-headedness of Luis Enrique, kind of the in the face, just getting Madridistas, making them uncomfortable, saying controversial shit, and then you have the astuteness, like the intelligence, the intellect of Guardiola. It's man.
I think you need a third party to make the Xavi hybrid, and that third party is Mourinho's sperm. So Mourinho inseminates, and Pep and Lucho raise him.
That's craziness. He's too defensive. No. Well,
no. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about tactical. I'm talking about character. I'm talking about the ability to troll and stir the pot and constantly generate hate and heat. Because you knew what it was like facing Mourinho, right? In terms of, and I think we would face that all of a sudden. Anyways,
it's a shame that we didn't have that podcast during those years. I mean, it's a shame we didn't have this podcast a long time ago. But We should reminisce on those years maybe once. Just do like a flashback. Classic.
Maybe in the summertime.
Yeah,
exactly.
When
there's not enough to talk about. Okay, so
instead of talking about fucking transfers,
we
talk about we preach some wisdom to these kids.
What are the other notes you have for me? Anything else you want to talk about this game or no?
No, that's it. I mean, I would love to talk about Madrid, but for me, that's it.
Okay.
For Barca.
Tomorrow we have Sevilla's funeral against Manchester United, which we hope will not be a funeral, but we're expecting the worst.
Are we at this point as well with the whole Mo and Pogba beef?
I just never read into these things, so I can't answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna go through 2-0.
Sevilla are what they are this season. They unless
2-1 maybe.
Unless they raise their game at the Sanchez Pizjuan the way they did against Atleti in the Copa del Rey.
Yeah.
I just don't see them having.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll look. I'm gonna do this. Prognosis. 1-0 tomorrow in the Sanchez Pizjuan, and away they'll lose 2-0.
Okay.
Manu will go through 2-1.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
You want to talk about Madrid? There's a question from a patron. So those of you who want...
Dude, I forgot we were doing Churros y Tácticas. I thought I was just calling you on the phone, just chatting shit.
I don't know. I get the sense from this conversation that you're not completely sober, and that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, since it is just between you and me,
Yeah. Actually, it's an illusion. This is a phone call. Don't worry about this. We're not even making this live. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas, in case somehow you still want to pledge after you hear this podcast, is where you go if you want to support this show. And hopefully you still do want to support it. I hope you do.
I hope you do.
And
you should. In fact, if anything.
You get guaranteed answers to your questions and other rewards. So this question actually came in on Sunday night from our patron Ivan Garcia. He says, Diego was almost laughing at Kiyan last week because he said Real Madrid could exit the Champions League. We're not there yet.
What I said was, how do you see this side beating PSG? That's absolutely right.
Well, and he said, we're not there yet, but I'm sure you are surprised, aren't you, Diego? But I do remember you said you predicted PSG to go through, right? You didn't give us much of a chance. Yeah.
No. He's absolutely right. Yeah. I think my question to you was, when you asked me, do you have anything to say or anything to ask me about Madrid? I said, seriously, how do you see Madrid beating PSG, or I think maybe going through to PSG? I was not expecting I wasn't expecting a 3-1 win, that's for sure. I said that Madrid is perfectly capable of getting a result in the Bernabeu at any given night. They have quality, caliber football players that could beat any team in the world at any given day. There's no doubt about it. But the 3-1 me pareció un poco mucho, no? It seemed like a little bit much, especially seeing as Kroos again was that the 2-1 scenario I thought was the let's say the, what do you call it, the la gota que colmó el vaso, like the drop that overflew the glass. Jesus, I'm giving our listeners a class in Spanish class as well, in Spanish sayings.
You normally do.
They don't translate.
The amount of idioms our listeners know now because of your...
I hope so.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like a bit... The difference in quality between two teams wasn't a 3-1 victory for Madrid. I'll just put it that way. And I blame actually Neymar for the PSG loss. We can go into that if you want. But that for me, Neymar was the difference, as in Neymar wanted to be the star player, the standout point, the headline. He wanted to make the headlines with getting his goal, getting the victory, when he had, on 2 or 3 occasions, had the obvious pass and decided to go for glory himself. And then eventually, when that wasn't happening, Madrid got their lucky break, as they often do, which was... a penalty that should have been an offside called on Kroos, which it was a penalty, but it was offside before. And then Cristiano, luckily, just boink, kneeing the ball in. And he's there at the right, in the right place at the right time, which he always seems to be on the grand occasion. So give him credit. But I mean, look, man, it wasn't a 3-1. Shouldn't have been a 3-1, in my opinion. No.
This is the first time I'm hearing about Kroos offside on that play.
Oh, what? Oh,
yeah,
man, I'm going to tag you.
It did not even see or hear about this or even contemplate it. I don't know if I missed or if I live under a rock.
This is only now making the news headlines. I'm very happy you say that, Kiyan, because I'm going to tag you after this pod in the video. It's now being discussed even in Madrid media, saying recognizing because it's being spread so much like wildfire that yes, Kroos was in an offside position when he received that ball from Marcelo. By almost a meter. They even, in the program here in Chiringuito, which I refer to quite often, which is a trash pro Madridista program, but still, they analyzed it.
Highly entertaining.
Bring out their ruler. You know it, right? Okay, it is entertaining, but it's trash. But Kroos is offside by 92 centimeters, man. So look.
Okay, so regarding the 3-1, and you don't think 3-1 was fair. This is what I'll say, and I've said it on previous pods. I think it was the type of game, and I was there, and it was very nerve-wracking. But
you were there, man. Yeah, that's right.
It was bonkers. Wow, it was completely bonkers.
Awesome.
It felt like Real Madrid could have lost that game by 2 or 3 goals at some moments. It also felt like we could have won 4 or 5-1, if that makes sense. That's the way the game kind of went. And the last 15, 20, 25 minutes, Real Madrid went to an amazing gear that PSG just couldn't cope with. And at the same time, Emery was laying eggs, making bad subs. PSG kind of took their foot off the pedal. They started playing a high line. Bale, Asensio, Vasquez, they torched them in the second half. And that was it. Up until
it's all true.
Yeah, up until that point, I thought Real Madrid weren't that impressive. They had good moments, but they went to another level during that juncture of the game. And also, I don't know if we say, I think PSG could have scored more goals than they did, but also it's true Mbappe didn't finish well, and Keylor Navas was really good.
Yeah. Mbappe. Well, listen, what was up with Emery substituting Cavani as well? That seemed utterly ridiculous to me, and a clear sign that Neymar again is ruling the dressing room there and saying, "You're not taking out Mbappe for the life of me." And if any player leaves right now at this point, it's Cavani. When in fact Cavani should have stayed in.
Well, he brought in Meunier for that sub, and then
why?
So this crazy. Is. I think when all this kind of shit hit the fan even more was after the game, when Emery was cutting his veins open and all this salt was pouring out. It was pouring salt. You couldn't walk. There was so much salt. And
that's also true.
He spent the entire post-game press conference and the day after talking about the referee and saying, and someone asked him about the subs, and he said Meunier completely dominated the right wing or something. Like, we dominated the right wing when Meunier came on, and which in itself is a shocking statement.
No, you're right.
Right? Because
it
didn't make sense, because both of those goals conceded were on the right wing, and that's where PSG were basically trying to tread water and survive. And
I couldn't for the life of me understand that.
Yeah. And then he brings off Lo Celso, who was playing out of position, didn't play well, and then
all that time,
he brought on Draxler. I think that was the Draxler sub, and then so Draxler's now playing out of position, and then you have Angel Di Maria, the player that Madridistas would hate to play against because he's really good on the bench,
and an ex-Madridista,
who like the day before said he would play for Barca, and he has no. He would clearly be up for the game. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my God. Such a good point, man. Such a good point. Didn't even think about that. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Man, it begs the question: is Emery really? Should we rate him as a manager as highly as we do? Because I think we all do. At least the footy connoisseurs do. I do. I mean, for what he did in Sevilla, and it was phenomenal. But should we rate him as highly? Because he's buckling under pressure at the biggest stage,
Yeah,
this point, for sure.
And so Real Madrid go into the second leg now with some injury concerns. Although they have time to recover.
Yeah.
Marcelo, Kroos,
No, but
and
Marcelo's
Modric.
not going to make it.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what they're saying.
And
So,
Modric.
we don't know. Yeah, Modric and Kroos should be back, I think.
Kroos as well? I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah.
he should be back. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where we
And
are.
I guess my last question is, but that's maybe more Liga related, is Bale, is this the last season that we will see of the BBC? This has to be the end, I guess.
But
we're not going to see
I don't
BBC
know
next
because this is another thing that's really difficult to read. Because it was just like a few games ago where Bale was like one of our best players this season.
Seemed like. I know.
So he gets benched
What a
before the
difference a day
PSG game.
makes.
He
I
gets
know,
benched
yeah.
before, and we all thought it was rest, and it still could have been. And maybe we didn't know if Zidane had made up his mind by then if he was going to play him against PSG or not. He comes off the bench against PSG. I thought he was good in that game, changed the dynamic along with Asensio and Vasquez. And then he started against Betis in the 4-4-2. He looked isolated. He didn't play well at all. And then I was listening to the Spanish football podcast today, and out of the blue, Sid Lowe just kind of says that him and Zidane just aren't seeing eye to eye right now. I don't know what that means. I don't know how.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't. It was kind of weird because he just kind of casually just threw it into the podcast. But at any rate, the second leg will be interesting. I do know that Real Madrid are going to have a plethora of counterattacking opportunities in that game, and to not have Bale at that point, it seemed like it would make sense to have Bale in that lineup for that reason, and away from home, and he usually plays well in those games. I think he's a must. But I'm not sure if I believe these Zidane tensions, but
look, I don't know. You know better than me. Sid would definitely know better than both of us. So if anyone says it, I would trust Sid.
But the thing is,
I would love to ask him about Isco as well. Isco and Zizou, what the deal is there. But, yeah.
I would have said BBC would have been broken up anyway in the summertime.
There's too much shit going on now. Yeah, it's a toxic. I mean, even if from just a fan and media standpoint, it's just not a good fit at the moment. I hope to God, and I'm again, le estoy dando vuelta a la tortilla and flipping it back to the Barca side. I'm flipping the Spanish omelet again back to the Barca side. But I hope that it will never reach this point, as in what it is between Bale and Madrid with Dembélé and Barca, because, and I hate to put it out there because it's kind of feeding material for Madridistas or just overly critical culés, but it did surprise me why Dembélé did not get not even 1 minute. Why even bring him out to London? I mean, why? I don't know.
I mean,
he should have been playing. If he's healthy, then play him. If he's not healthy, then don't call him up. I mean, but don't. I don't want it to get to Valverde being overly protective of Dembélé and him being overly nervous every time he's out there, because that is what is potentially happening at the moment, or at least what I'm scared of. So,
well, I imagine he just wanted to ease him in a bit. This is a big game to throw into the fire, I think.
Just get him out there, man. He costs 120 mil or 105 mil fixed, and just let the boy play. He can obviously play. That's why you spend that money for him. So if he's not going to play against Eibar or any other team, or not even Chelsea, then what? Come on, let's go. I just want to see him out there. But yeah.
Any last thoughts before we conclude?
I think that's about it, Kiyan.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go. I hope you sober up. It's late there.
Hey, I'm not that bad. Are you kidding me? Stop making me out to be. I just had a couple of drinks. I'm excited. This is Champions League night.
I'm happy for you.
Boys' night.
I'm happy for you.
And I have a lot of work to do, so I just had a few drinks, and but don't make it. I'm not taking this overboard. So
we'll be back Monday, and do you know? I don't know if you know, but we're going to be joined by David Garrido in that podcast.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh, awesome.
Yeah, the three of us are going to hash it out, talk La Liga, talk Spanish football. It should be fun.
Well, I'm looking forward to today. We all get together and have a couple of drinks, all of us. So
likewise, we caught up in Madrid. We wish you were there. It was fun.
Next time, let me know in advance so I can maybe plan a trip out there.
Yeah. Maybe next time, or we'll meet halfway, or maybe we'll meet in Barca.
Norman. I lived there for 4 years. It's a great city.
Diego Lorijn, congratulations on your 1-1 draw and your one shot on goal. And
yes.
We'll catch you next week, buddy. Take care.